Yeah, I think almost all problems have to do with people's egos. I strongly look and understand that now. I think it's most people just think that they're better than you, right? Like, I think ultimately at the end of the day, they have this sense of self of like, I'm just better than you. And so they don't want to absorb anything. They don't want to work on themselves, right? I think that and there's all sorts of, personality sort of research showing this is pretty strong at this moment in terms of our understanding. I would be very surprised if the bulk of this research gets overthrown. But basically, it's like, people just think that they're better than you. And so if they think that they're better than you, right? And it's not like you think they're better than you, or they think that they're sort of thinking about this in some sort of way. No, they actually truly fundamentally believe that they are better than you to the deepest. And the reasons for that are, very very, there's environmental factors. There is, how people were raised, all sorts of different things. But people genuinely, strongly believe they're better than you. And if that's the case, they will never absorb anything, right? Like, and it doesn't matter how much coaxing and all that kind of stuff that you actually do or convincing, it's not going to get through to them, and they're going to make your life miserable, right? And I think we all have degrees of this. I'm not saying like, that it's like a 0-1 thing, like a binary switch where it's like, you know, one person. There are a lot, right? Like the statistics on, like narcissism and sociopathy and things like that are actually pretty staggering. If you start looking at them, like a significant portion of the population would be classified as having these. Um, but it really just comes down to people thinking that they're just better than you, right? Like they have absolutely no, they just don't see you as a thing. They see you as like just an object, and they're just better than you, right? And I think that there is, yeah, even broadly speaking, if you look at like values and things like that, we often is deeply within humanistic values to think we're better than other people, right? Like that's how we get ahead often, or um, why we just don't look at nature and we say that we think that we're better in nature, right? Like humans fundamentally often think that we're better than nature, right? Like a huge number of people think like that, and it's deeply woven into all sorts of different cultural aspects of our life. um, Even just the way that we sort of pursue the world, and we think that we are supposed to trounce on everybody, right? It's very deeply woven in a lot of culture, a lot of ways that we view the world. And if you simply, there's a simple trick to this to get people to not pursue or not, you first of all, very difficult to change any of this, right? And it's likely you're not going to. But if you want to get people to change their perspective on whether that they think they're better, just get people to do shit, right? Like just get them to do something. If they think that they're better, it's all cheap talk. It's all a bunch of bullshit, right? Almost all of it is just total bullshit, and it's because they don't know what the hell that they're actually talking about. And if you get people to actually do it and do the action, right? Like actually do what the hell they're talking about, you will realize that they can't do it either. They suck just as much as you do, right? And so it's your perception of either you think you believe what they're saying, all of the cheap talk and bullshit that they actually talk about, um, or you realize that we all suck. We're not much better than anybody else, right? We all fundamentally suck in how we understand the world, and there's there's good psychology behind this that's very old at this moment, but it's taken decades for economists to really appreciate this. Um, it's the Herbert Simon wrote some work in 1978. He won the Nobel Prize for this in economics. Whether you call that a Nobel Prize or not is another story, but basically very thoughtful. And the idea is that we all fundamentally suck, right? Like humans just suck. I can say it in much more nuanced terms. Um, that we can't that we can't gather enough information. We're sort of fundamental information processors, and we will never be able to gather all of the information going forward. We just can't. It's not going to happen. We can't gather all the information that's readily available to us at any given time. We can't sort of look at all of the moments in past. But fundamentally, it just means we're not God, right? We can't see and do everything, and we just suck, right? Like there is elements of us that suck, and we have to appreciate that, right? The more that we appreciate that, um, we don't know everything, the more that we really, really start paying attention to what Herbert Simon actually was really referring to, that we're really sucky, right? We don't know everything. And the more that you accept that, and the only way that you can accept that is actually you do something, right? Just go friggin' do it instead of talking about it. People are so great about talking about things, they sit on their ass. And I apologize for the language, but this is really how I feel about things. They often sit on their ass and tell other people this is how you actually do it. It's all these armchair athletes that are out there never getting out there and realizing, like, shit, this is hard, right? I'm going to call out a lot of parents, including myself, right? We all like to say, oh, our kids should be doing so much better. Get out there and do it yourself. Realize you can't do it either. Realize that it's freaking hard, right? And there's two responses that you see often. People just go quiet, um, or they stop, right? Like those fundamental things. So I study this stuff, actually, by the way. I study failure. I study why people stop doing things. I study the sort of all these kind of things, and you start looking at it and you're like, oh crap, the majority of our life is a giant what's called a selection problem. And that is when it's hard, people stop. And so that means the majority of people, and that is, on one side, that's kind of like, okay, that's total sanity, right? Like you don't want to keep doing things that are hard. That's actually very real. That is a good thing. But on the flip side, that means everybody is full of cheap talk, right? Like that means that people are not willing to do the hard work, right? They're not willing to do everything that's actually really, truly important, right? And if you start accepting that yes, that it does suck, right? Like a lot of life sucks. A lot of things are hard. A lot of things you can't fundamentally figure out, right? The world is too complicated. Um, the more that you appreciate that, the more that you internalize it and you say, yeah, you know what, you're right. I suck too, right? I suck at absolutely everything, and I'm not going to really know what the right answer actually is. But that's okay. I think if you start with that basis and you go so much further along than if you know everything and you understand the world and you believe that you're better than everybody else. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.